So the storm's passed on, and it's kind of a slow weather day, so I thought by request I would answer some weather questions. And Dave on Twitter asked about just how heavy the snow was within 30 miles of New York City. And best I was able to figure out, there was an area that got about 18 inches of snow that was 30 miles to the east on Long Island. Now the really, really heavy stuff was a little bit farther east. So here's a map where you can see exactly where the snow was heaviest. Becca asks if I can explain what Gropple is and act out how Gropple acts. And so Gropple is one of those things I like to talk about just because it sounds silly, but basically it's little balls of snow. Basically snowflakes start falling and it's kind of warm, so they get stuck together and then they kind of fall through a cloud where the water isn't frozen, and they get kind of smashed up into these silly little balls that look just like the inside of a beanbag, like little pieces of styrofoam. And I guess they kind of do this. So I think that's how I would represent Gropple. Eli asks what causes valley areas to get so much colder than surrounding areas on winter nights. That's a great question, and what conditions cause that. And basically it happens when it's really clear. Cold air is heavier than warm air, so it really sinks into the valleys when it's a clear, calm night. But if there's any wind blowing, it'll mix it right up and you won't notice the difference. And if there's clouds, then the air doesn't cool on the ground as fast, so it doesn't really do it that noticeably. It's not only in the winter, and it can be really noticeable during certain times. And Ashley asks why there's not as many tornadoes in Vermont as there are in the Midwest, and that's also a great question. Basically, in short, in the Midwest, I'll act this out too. There's the warm air coming up from the Gulf and the dry air from the desert and the cold air from Canada, and it just all mixes together, and then it's flat. So these rotating thunderstorms form, and they just go faster and faster and faster, and they don't hit anything. And Vermont has a obviously mountainous landscape. All of New England does. Plus, it's not quite as severe, the changes in temperature during that time of year, and the ocean moderates things a little, and the Great Lakes moderate things also. The thunderstorms just don't get quite as strong usually. Now, you can get tornadoes. In fact, I even found a Google Earth image where you can see the path of a tornado through a forest in far southern Vermont, which is kind of crazy. And Lauren asks why snow gets so sparkly when it's on the ground, especially when it's cold out. And so basically the snowflakes are all these flat little planes like this, almost like a mirror, and they're all laying at different angles, but some of them will be facing you and the other ones won't. And as you walk by, the one that's facing you is different everywhere you are, and so you get these different little flashes of light from each one. And if you get down and look really close, you can sometimes actually see little snowflakes perfectly formed there on the ground. It's really cool. And Kevin asked why some snow sticks to the trees and sticks to everything and other snow just doesn't. And that usually has to do with temperature too. When it's really wet, the snow falls in these wet globs that are like many snowflakes stuck together, and anything they touch, they just freeze right to it. Kind of like freezing rain. It's like below freezing or near freezing, but the snow still has liquid on it, so it just freezes to everything. And it's really pretty. It can also be destructive. We lost a lot of power a lot of places in Vermont from a storm like that recently, and then this last storm, it was so cold, snow didn't stick to anything, so it's just kind of an effect of the temperature. And finally, very quick weather update. It is kind of slow today, but Friday in Vermont and much of New England, probably some more snow, and then maybe a big cold blast after that, but I will update on that later. Have a good one.